Hey everyone, welcome back to Rather Be Visin. My name's Sam and today I've got another top Tableau tip for you. So today we're going to be taking a look at how you can utilize dual axis, but not for showing two different measures, but instead for aesthetically changing your chart. So I've got three things I'm going to run you through today. So without further ado, let's hop into Tableau. Let's get into the build. So here I've got a pie chart. Now, if you know me, you know I hate pie charts, but we can make this slightly better by changing it into a donut chart. So you can see I've got pie chart here split out by sales by the three different categories that we have in the EU Superstore. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come up to rows and I'm going to put in min 1. You can see I've now put an axis in, and so my pie chart is now sat on that axis. Now if I put in another min 1, you can see I now get two pie charts. We know that happens when you add on a pill either into rows or columns, it's going to split out your view. And what I can do now is I can right click on my rightmost pill and I can select dual axes, and that's going to stick them both on the same axes, so they're going to overlap one another. And we can utilize that to make our donut. So on our first pie chart here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on size and I'm going to make that slightly bigger, maybe in between these two lines here. And you can see I've now got a darker ring on the outside, and that's my pie chart that's sat behind the other one being slightly bigger. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down to my second one here and I'm going to remove everything other than my sales that I've got on label. And you can see now there's that grey circle in the middle of it. And if I change that to white or to whatever the background colour is on my canvas, it's now going to look as if there's a hole in there, as if we've got a nice donut. Now you might have to play around with the sizing a bit, so you can see my label doesn't quite fit in there. So I'm going to move that up to that line there, and then come into the size of my second one and move it to be just below that one. And there you can see you've got your donut chart. Obviously, make sure that you've synchronized your axes, and then you can hide these headers and you can format the rest of it to have none of those lines, and then you've got quite a nice little donut chart there. Another way you can utilize dual axes is if you're doing an area chart. So as we know, an area chart looks pretty nice. So if we bring in our order date, let's go for month and year. Let's bring in profit this time. So it's going to default to a line chart because I've picked a time series. Now if I change this to area, you can see it fills in that area. And obviously you can split this out by different dimensions if you want to. But what looks quite nice is if you can have a thick line going across the top of that area chart to really highlight where those actual values are. So to do that, again, we're going to take a copy of profit. So I'm going to hold Control here. I think it's Command if you're on a Mac. I'm just going to drag that next to itself, and you can see now, again, we've got those two panes. So I'm just going to right click and select dual axes. And now you can see we've got our area charts overlapping. So what I can do is I can come to this first one, I can change it from an area chart to a line chart. And now I've got that more pronounced bold line going over the top of my area chart. And if I want, I can drop the opacity of my area chart down a bit further to really draw that out. So this is good for area charts. It's also good for line charts if you want to make them a little bit more aesthetically pleasing. Of course, make sure it works with the rest of the things you have on your dashboard, otherwise it will look a bit out of place. And finally, bar charts. So how can we use dual axis to make bar charts look a little bit nicer? Well, one thing I like to do, I'm going to bring in my categories. I'm going to bring in my sales. And you can see we've got a bar chart here. If I make this the entire view, it's going to be a bit easier to see. So one thing that you can do when you dual axis, so I'm going to take a copy of my sales, I'm going to dual axis it, and then I'm going to make sure that we're on bar for both. Now what you can do with your second one is if you change this to a Gantt bar, you won't see it now because it's still colouring it a different colour, but if we change it to black, you can see on the ends here, we then get this like little cap. So that shows exactly where that data point is. Make sure we've synchronized our axes, and so that can look quite nice. So I've done this on quite a few dashboards. You can also do it where you have the Gantt bar be the same color as your bars. So if I change this to be blue, same color as my bars, but I change the blue on my bars to be a lot more opaque. You can see then that we have the cap at the end there. But one thing that you can also do is you can use obviously calculations to color different elements. So we can use that on our Gantt bar here to color those little caps a completely different color based on some calculations. So if I have a look here, I've got my top sales calculation. And what this is doing here is saying if the sum of sales is the max within the window, then I want to return a true value, otherwise pull back a false value. And what we can do now, if we drop that onto color, you can see we've got our false as red and green for true, and we could change our bars to be gray. And then when we have a look at it, you can see straight away we're able to draw the eye to our max sales. Obviously, it's easy to find because we've ordered it in the correct way here. But this can be a really good way of being able to draw the eye to what is important without having to color the whole bar. Sometimes if you've got a lot of these bar charts and you'll color in the max one on all of them, if you think if that bar was green, it's going to be quite overpowering when you're having a look at the dashboard. So this can be a nice way to give a nod to this is the highest value, but without causing too much attention. Anyway, that was 3 different ways that you can use dual axis in order to change the aesthetic view of your charts. Do you know another one? Please do let me know. I'd love to hear it. I love these little tricks and ways that you can make Tableau do things that maybe you can't do standardly. But that's me. Hopefully you enjoyed. Leave a comment below and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.